Okay, so I'm going to go to kind of a 101 level on IDXs. That's what Steph has asked me to kind of do. I can go to the 401 level later about how to get your IDX seen in the world, but I want to talk to you about the best practices for how to set up your real estate website, okay? And there's a couple of little housekeeping things. This is me. This is where you find me if you ever need to find me. Those of you who are my coaching clients or work on my staff know how to find me. Everyone else, this is me. Clay, how are you doing? I got Clay and Robert on here, so we're good. Okay, so there are 5 rules for a Bob McCraney presentation. Number 1, I talk fast. So listen fast or slow me down. Either one, I don't care. But if you need me to slow down and repeat something, I will, okay? 2, feel free to laugh at me, laugh near me. This should be fun. Hi, Nikki, smile. So it should be fun, and don't stress about this, okay? 3, social media is fun. It's not brain surgery, okay? Go have a ball doing this, okay? 4, this is how I run my business. If you had 7 social media people on stage, you'd have 7 different opinions. Everybody has an opinion. This just happens to be mine. And 5, if I'm sharing screens and you see passwords or somebody posted something on my Facebook when I'm sharing that you don't like, just close your eyes. I have absolutely no control over who posts what on Instagram when I'm sharing. And it's usually Neva posting something that everybody thinks is weird. So just whatever it is, just kind of close your eyes. I'm so sorry you saw that, but I'm sharing a screen and I have no control. Okay, so there's a profit cycle to doing your business and doing websites, okay? Number 1, we need to get traffic to your site, okay? Number 2, we have to have some sort of lead generation on your site that grabs people and brings them in. Then we need to thank them for being on the site. We need to set up the autoresponder, and then we need to create social posts that drive people back to the site. We're creating a cycle here for your business, okay? So we need to do that. Who's muted?
Can you mute everyone real quick?
Mute. Okay. So this is kind of what we're looking for here. We're trying to, the website's going to be in the middle here at the IDX. And by the way, IDX stands for Internet Data Exchange. If you're going to show properties on the web, you must use a Internet Data Exchange provider, and your MLS will tell you which ones they're authorized to use. You cannot just go grab properties off the MLS and put them onto your WordPress site. You have to use one of these providers. And it's really good because they do all the updates for you. They just, have everything there for you. Okay, so there's a difference between funnel pages and a web page. Funnel pages are just usually a couple of questions like what's your name, what's your email address, what's your phone number, and yes, once you fill this out, we'll send you our happy little packet about buying a house. Funnel pages have almost no SEO behind them. Funnel pages are just there to receive information. Funnel pages have to have ads shooting people to them. Okay, there's no natural way for it to attract attention. It's just there to receive information. A website, if it's well developed and laid out, should attract its own attention. Okay, it should be there getting people to come to it and has a lot of search engine SEO with search engine optimization behind it. So a funnel page is great if you just want people to get your buyer's guide. Okay, fine, you can do that. But if you want something that draws people to it, that you need a fully developed website. Okay. Internet Data Exchange, I've already covered that. So this is the restaurant you're going to dinner at. What does this restaurant serve?
Nothing.
What does this restaurant serve? Anybody?
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
So you walk in the door and you say, okay, I'd like a steak. And they say, we don't have steak, order something else. And you're like, okay, I want a hamburger. Well, we don't have a hamburger, order something else. This is a blank menu and a blank tablet. That's our blank sign. You have no idea what they order. This is exactly what we're doing when we put up a website that says, find a house. When we have a website that has a box that says, search for a house, we're basically giving them a blank menu and they have no idea what we have. And we're counting on the end user. We're counting on the end user going through, clicking through things to find a house, rather than laying out what our menu is, okay? So I think this is the best metaphor for what's wrong with almost every IDX website out there, is that we put it, we got it out of the box from the vendor and we put it up and we left that find a house box up, which is great, but we never described what's on our menu, okay? So I'm looking to have everything we can have available. So here's an example of what one of those boxes looks like. We all have these on our, who has an IDX website now? Show of hands. Pretty much everybody I would suspect has an IDX website. So this is my metaphor for what most people have on their website. Okay, Just think of the stem of the flower as the URL. The URL is the universal locator that says, you know, jessicagibson.com. Okay. Hi, Jessica. I'm picking on you. I love you. Okay. Then the center of this is your home page. And then usually there's only one page off the flower, which is your about page, about me. And 9 times out of 10, people put a little paragraph 2 about them. Hi, I'm Heidi Chirac, blah, blah. And so, but they don't do anything else to the site. No self-respecting bee is going to go pollinate that flower. Nobody's going to be attracted to that website because it hasn't been filled out. What you need to do, poorly deployed websites. What they do here is they just leave that one little segment up, and then they pay Google and Facebook lots of money to force people to come to that site. But there's nothing about that site that naturally attracts people to it. Make sense? Yes or yes? Okay, so what I want to do is do things that naturally attract people to the site. Okay, because I want all the bees to come to my flowers. Okay, it needs to be well developed with area pages and link pages, which I will go into. Okay, it needs to have keywords. It needs to have content about the site. It needs to have frequent updates, which is where your IDX comes into play because they're always updating your pages. Blogging, videos, who's doing video, everybody, etc. You need to have lots of rich content on your site. Now you are going to think, oh my God, that's so much work. You're doing it anyway, because if you're on Instagram or Facebook, you're blogging. Okay, if you're on Instagram or Facebook, you're blogging already, or Twitter or whatever, you're already blogging. You're just doing it in small fragments rather than writing a couple extra paragraphs. So this is not work you're not doing, we're just not putting it together. Okay, so I want to have a website that's fully developed and has rich content so that all the bees come pollinate my flowers. Okay, this, by the way, I should have updated this last night. So I started running my Google ad in July 1, 2020. The Google ad has brought in 891 leads. Organically, I brought in 810. My goal each month is that I beat the Google ad, and I'm not going to get rid of the Google ad, it's bringing me leads, but I want to beat it each month. And every month I beat it, I get a cookie. And I like to get the cookies. So every month I'm trying to get, see, that was supposed to be funny, that every month I get to beat their ad, I feel good because I brought in as many leads as I can, okay? So there are about 5 or 8 things that I want to go through about a website that are important. 1, the URL should be about the market, okay? If you own heatherwitt.com, that's great. But if you owned Best Austin Agent, that would be better. Or I Sell Austin Homes or something like that. That might be better to have something geographical or referential about you, or about your market, rather than just your name. Because if I'm moving to Austin, unless I've been introduced to Heather Witt, I don't know to look for Heather Witt. Does that make sense? So, and I'll show you how we can go look at some of the URLs that would be good for you. The site should attach to or communicate with a CRM. Most of the good sites have a CRM IDX combination. But if you are like whole hog into Follow-Up Boss or Wise Agent, Follow-Up Boss and Wise Agent are just CRMs. They don't have an IDX component. So if you love that CRM, let's find a way to make the two talk to each other. We can do it through APIs or through Zapier, and we can make them all talk together. So it should have a CRM component. If you don't like their CRM, keep using the one you're using. The searches you create should be dynamic in nature and programmable, and I'll go into what that means, okay? Your site provider should give you the field names for the site so that you can put in extra stuff. If your site provider, and we'll go into this in a minute, if your site provider gets stingy and does not want you to have area pages unless you pay them, or does not want you to do SEO unless you pay them, they're hooking you on Google Ads and they're hooking you on spending money with them. They're a bad provider. And I've got a list of good and bad, and we can talk about that. The website should force sign in. How many of you go to a website and it says, before you want to see this, please give me your digits, right? You should do the same thing. I've run websites where I didn't, and I just trusted people to come back and, oh, if they like me, they'll come back and buy through me. No, they have to sign in to see the first house. And if they don't and they bounce, good. If they give me like, stupid data like I'm Mickey Mouse and stuff like that, fine. We're going to get 1 out of 10, give us that. But they have to give me something or they don't stay on my site. Okay, 5, area pages. Area pages are defined pages about a specific suburb or a specific neighborhood that you're working. Area pages can have SEO behind them, which is like keywords and metadata. And think of it as the really fancy sign that you got made that has your face on it, your phone number. It says open house this way. And it took a lot of work to get that sign. Area pages take a little more work, but they've got better detail about what you're doing. Okay. So those are those fancy open house signs that you had printed and you got 20 of them and you're great. Link pages are quick and easy. Link pages are a way to take an area and subdivide it. So I've got an area page for Carrollton. Now I'm going to have a link off for Carrollton homes with pools, Carrollton homes with cul-de-sacs, Carrollton homes on corner lots, and I'm going to subdivide my area. Link pages are quick and easy to deploy, but don't have as much SEO behind them. Okay, think of those as those little red signs you go get at Home Depot because you're running late to your open house and you forgot to bring those big fancy signs, and you go get those little red arrows that everybody gets, and like we just don't act like we have. But the link pages are quick and easy. The area pages take a little more time. The area pages carry more weight, but the link pages are easy to deploy and get out. Okay, all social media posts, pages, and videos should refer back to your site. Repeat after me. All social media and posts and everything you do should be driving people back to this IDX. It is the center of the room. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? Okay, cool. Most importantly, your site should be your own. Do not use your broker's IDX. I don't care if you're with the best brokerage in the world and you just love them and you're never leaving them. Never let them own your data. If broker, let's say Stephanie is evil broker right now. Stephanie is the evil, mean broker. And Stephanie has site provider A. And site provider A is wonderful, and you've built all this stuff. Stephanie gets a phone call tomorrow from site provider B that says, hey, we'll do it for half the price. And Stephanie makes the business decision to save half that money and go with provider B and changes all your sites over. Everything you built is gone. Everything you built is gone. Okay? Because you built your house on land you did not own. Don't do that. Okay? And I will say that most people move brokerages 2 to 3 times in their career. So you're going to change at some point, or they will change under you. Don't build on land you don't own. And 10, audit your site. And if you want help auditing your site, I'm happy to do a 30-minute audit with anybody, free of charge. Just hit me up and we'll audit your site. And we'll go against some of the best practices that we have and show you what your site is doing and what your site is not doing. I've done this for Heidi. I've done it for a couple other people. I can show you what your site is up to and what it's not. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay.
Yeah, actually, go ahead. I'm gonna let you go first. Go for it.
Me or who?
No, well, there was somebody speaking. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody?
Okay. Yes. So if he's not going to ask, I got a couple of questions. One, Kathleen has asked, can you link more than one URL?
Yes.
Okay. Nice. Heather asked, what was the ROI on the ad spend for your closed?
I would have to go get you those numbers because this is a little bit out of date. Here's the difference. Okay, here's what I want to talk about. There's 2 segments. Gathering the leads, closing the leads. 2 different conversations. If you buy leads from Zillow, God help you. If you buy leads from Zillow, you then have to close the leads. Your closing systems are important. That's a different conversation. I'm talking about generating the leads and not paying other people to do it. Okay. So how do we close the leads? That's this conversation. How do we gather the leads? That's this conversation.
Okay. One more question. Can we receive a copy of your slide deck?
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
Cool.
That's all the questions so far on this end.
Okay, good. Okay. So number 1, your URL. Let's say you're moving to Denver and nobody in outside of Denver knows your name. So why don't you have a URL that reflects that you're in Denver? Okay. By the way, anybody here in Denver? Because I'm about to do your work for you. Hey, Walt. Okay. So I use something called Keywords Everywhere, and I'll go out there and I'll type in something about Denver. If you don't have Keywords Everywhere, go get it. It's amazing. Okay. And Keywords Everywhere will show you different long tail search terms or short tail search terms for your area. So I've typed in, Denver agent, and Keywords Everywhere comes up. It gives you this little thing up here in your browser, and it's what's the word for it? It's a add-on to your browser, and you pay them a little bit of money. And when you type in a search now, you get a list of keywords that show up beside it. So I typed in Denver homes for sale, and it gave me all the keywords that were around Denver. And you'll notice that everybody's website that is about Denver it shows you the number of keywords on that site. Okay? So you can now go look at the keywords for Realtor.com. You can look at the keywords that Zillow is using. You can look at the keywords for Redfin and steal. I'm sorry, did I say that? Yes, you can steal them, rip off and duplicate their keywords. But how cool would it be if you took some of these long tail keywords and made them a URL? So I went to GoDaddy, which is my favorite URL provider. By the way, I buy URLs like most people buy shoes. I just own a ton of URLs, okay? Because I want to own the ground around me. If I own TexasPrideRealty.com, I'm going to get Texas Pride Properties, Texas Pride Real Estate, Texas Pride, everything I can, and I'm going to buy the .com, the .net, the .org. I'm going to buy all 3 or 4 or 5 of those because I don't want people to do this. Hi, Heidi, you've changed. Nice to see you. Good to see you there. Okay, so I went and grabbed the top, 2 or 3 of these, and I went to GoDaddy, and you know what? They're available. They're available. And if you don't want to be homes, and that's, by the way, misspelling, for sale in Aurora, Colorado, that's fine. By the way, misspellings rank. Misspellings rank, which is weird. People spell things wrong, and it ranks here. Cheap homes for sale in Denver.com. That is something you probably want to own. And if you don't want to use it, own it so your competitor doesn't get it. But pick one of these and use it as your URL. Now, I'm not saying your email address can still be Stephanie@StephanieArnett.com. But your website could be something that is already using keywords. Google will tell you keywords in the URL is not a ranking factor, but it really does help you remember what what the site is about. So that's number one, getting a URL that would be beneficial to you. Okay. Don't ask groups of people which URL. Hey, I've got these 3 URL ideas. Which one should I do? Because somebody snarky like me will go out and buy all 3 of them before you can get back and figure it out. Okay. So don't say, hey, hey everybody, I'm Nikki, and I've got these, URLs that I want for Red Sea Realty. Which one do you like? No, because somebody's going to go buy them. Buy all 3 and then ask. But don't do that. Or talk to your coach. Talk to your coach. But don't. I hate it when I see these public posts because I'm like, somebody's going to go grab that before you get back to it. Okay. You should attach your IDX to your CRM. We talked about this. You can either do it through a direct integration. Most of the CRMs will integrate with each other, okay? Most of them will talk to BombBomb and Keeping Current Matters and Constant Contact. A lot of them have APIs built. The one I know has no APIs is Buffini, and they have no intention of ever creating APIs. Buffini wants to be a standalone. Okay, great. But we won't be able to ever connect anything to Buffini. And they've said, yeah, that's just not our gig. Okay, so, but most of them should connect back and forth. If you have a good way of connecting things, Zapier, if you don't have a good way of connecting things, Zapier is the way to go. Who's used Zapier before? Okay, Zaps are fairly easy to create. It's literally point and click. I want to take this system and connect it to that system. When this happens, make it happen over here. It works 98% of the time just fine. And you can always go audit the Zap and be sure it's doing what it's supposed to. Okay, so Zapier, this is just a screenshot of some of the things they talk to. These are a lot of the major brands we deal with. By the way, I zoom in with people. Like, let's say that Robert has a CRM that he wants me to look at. Robert will share screen, kind of like, and I'll be like, point here, point there, or he'll just give me screen control, and I'll go dig into the back end of the system. So I've been digging into the back of almost every major brand to try to figure them out and figure out how I can help my clients better. So if you've got a question, reach out to me. I'd be happy to see. And if it's a brand I've not dug into before, I'm going to love helping you because I want to see what they're up to. Okay. Then we get to, it should attach, well, obviously it should attach to your CRM. It should record when somebody has favorited or favorited a property or been on your site. I misspelled favorited. A property, been on your site, opened an email. It should track everything that happens through that buyer or seller, okay? So when something happens, it should show up in your CRM. So if they're interfacing with the IDX, it should also show up in your CRM, okay? Let's move on here. Okay, so the IDX is public facing, the CRM is private just for you. Does that make sense? Everybody got that? I feel like I'm pounding this one into the ground a little too hard. Okay, searches. Searches should be dynamic in nature. Repeat after me, searches should be dynamic in nature, okay? If they're not dynamic, it's not the right site, okay? And I've got 2 sites here. I'm not gonna pick on Paul Sanford today, I'll pick on him later. What I mean by dynamic in nature, if you go to Texas Pride Realty, which is a Real Geek site, and I'm just going to say this once, I'll say it probably many times, I don't get paid anything or get a toaster oven for talking about Real Geeks. I'm not here to push any product on you. It's just what I use, and it's amazing. If you've got a different brand and you love them, I'm not here to squabble about that, and I'm not taking any money from anybody for promoting or not promoting. However, it's brilliant. Okay, a dynamic URL means that in the URL, it's going to say county equal Dallas, city equal Dallas, list price equal this, max list price equal all, and you can build out your search criteria in this URL. A lot of websites return, when you type in find a house and you type in, like, hey, I want to be in Atlanta and I want a price of this amount in Atlanta, it returns a URL that simply says results.asp. You cannot take that URL and put it into any other website around the world and build a link page off of it. You need to have, the URL needs to define the search. That way you can take that URL, drop it into social media links. You can drop it into your Twitter and your YouTube. Hey, today I'm talking about houses in Plano, and these houses run for about this price. And you can drop a link that takes people to the current search of that. If you have a website that only does results.asp, you have absolutely no chance of continuing further. Okay? So you want to have a, and there's easy way to test this. I'm so happy to help you test this. You can test to see within minutes if that's a dynamic URL or not. Now, some places like, I think Chime and a couple of the others, they don't have natural language, like city would equal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they put a code. It's not a zip code, unfortunately. They have a unique code for what each city name is, and you would have to just plug and play for about 20 minutes and find all your city codes, and then you're good. They don't use natural language. Real Geeks uses natural language, and it just makes sense that if I want the colony, I just put in city equal the colony or city equal Carrollton. But some of the other sites are using their own numbering system, and that's fine. We can figure it out. So that's easy. But you can put things in here like pool equal yes, pool equal no, HOA equals yes, HOA equals no, lot type, golf course, community, mother-in-law plan. By the way, mother-in-law plan is a huge hit on my website. I don't know why. Who wants their mother-in-law living with them? I don't get it. So I can change out, I can take one URL.
Airbnb.
Airbnb. Okay, somebody's making money here. So I have all these counties around Dallas-Fort Worth, right? So I'm building out pages for all these counties. Even if I don't want to drive out there, I want to get a referral out there, right? Who wants referral money? So if your website had searches for areas around you, one, your domain authority goes up. Domain authority means Google thinks you really know what you're talking about. Domain authority is important. So the more searches you have and the more things you've had built out, your domain authority goes up because Google says, wow, this guy really does talk about real estate all the time. And two, if somebody calls me and they want to go out to Hood County or Erath County, I'm going to say, I'm so sorry, I can't do that, but here's the name of a realtor out there who'd be amazing. Okay, so I'm going to lay out searches using this URL, and I'm just going to change county name equal, and I'm just going to change that county name and drop all those links on my page. It just takes me a few minutes to get the base URL and then change county name out, and I've got all these link pages. Link pages are quick and easy. They don't have a lot of SEO behind them, but they're quick and easy to deploy. Okay, so here's what I can do within the county of Dallas. Let's just take Dallas County. Here's all the cities in Dallas County. So now I can have a page for each of these cities. So this is good because a user can log on and say, oh, I want to be in DeSoto, and just click on the DeSoto link. But what it's better for is Google already knows that I have a DeSoto page. So when Andrew comes on and says, I want to live find me houses in DeSoto, Texas, Google says, oh my gosh, here's a site that already has it built out versus a site that just has a box that says find a house. Which one is Google going to know to go to? Find a house or something that already has things about DeSoto, Texas built and ready to go? Okay, so that's what this is about. And this is why the dynamic programmable URL is so important, because you can literally start dropping in links. You can create area pages for the big stuff and then subdivide that area with link pages. And if it's a big area and you just need to drop some links real fast, you can deploy quickly and come back later and fill in your best places with link pages. Am I losing you or are we okay?
No, while you've got a quick breath, Heather asks, can you build out your website using other MLS areas that your team members belong to? Like, would that help the SEO since we're already cross-marketing on multiple websites in multiple areas?
most IDXs will sell you a site for, and was it Heather Witt? Did you ask this? Okay, so I'm going to take Austin because you're Austin. So they'll sell you the Austin site, and then let's say Houston is a different MLS. They'll sell you a Houston site. So you'll have two sites. I would put it under one URL, and then subdivide out and say, if you want Houston, click here. If you want this one, click there. Maybe I would think about centralizing it. There could also be an argument for having an Austin URL and a Houston URL. So there could be an argument for both.
I was actually thinking of it more as a referral type situation on your website. It's like, hey, if you're looking in Austin, here's my referral partner in Austin. And then you can have your website built out, because I'd go buy Real Geeks to tie into you that way in a heartbeat.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good, so let's say that you have friends who have other, Heather and I have done business back and forth between Austin and Dallas a couple times. And so I'm going to put on my website, if you want the best realtor in Austin, here's Heather Witt's site. If you want the best realtor in Cleveland or in Cincinnati, here's Andrew's site. If you want the best, and just tie everybody's sites together. By the way, that gives you something called a link back. So I'm going to link to Heather. And since my domain authority is getting better, they're going to say, oh, Heather is linked to by this guy who's got fairly good domain authority. Maybe Heather's site is worth something. You don't necessarily want to go get a link off of, some crazy like Craigslist. Their domain authority is rubbish. You don't necessarily want that. But you do want to have domain authority from great places. So getting links from In the News would be amazing, because their domain authority is through the roof. Getting links from, in Dallas, there's a site called Candy's Dirt, which just talks about real estate. Their domain authority is high. So any sort of link that who's an Active Rain person from years ago? Go back and get onto Active Rain again and start blogging again, because Active Rain has a huge domain authority. Even though I think their day is past, I'm going to use them for what I can get out of them. Okay.
Agreed. We get about 10 leads a week in small 15,000 town from Active Rain, just Google search sites. Real quick, Coach, Kathleen loves her brokerage. We are just now breaking her out to have her own website. Yay, Kathleen. But she has asked, does it count if you link back to your brokerage site and if your brokerage can link out to your site?
So that would be a reciprocal link. Reciprocal links are depreciated a little bit over a non-reciprocal link. If I link to Janet and Janet links to Nikki and Nikki links to Amy and Amy links back to me, those are non-reciprocal. We're going to kind of go in a chain. Those are seen as a little bit better because it's not a handshake. Oh, I'm giving her a link because she gave me a link. Reciprocal links still rank, but not quite as high as the non-reciprocal link. By the way, back in the day, Google used to use link exchanges a lot. And they would depend on that. So we'd all belong to link exchanges, and the link exchange company would decide whether we were going to be reciprocal or whether there's going to be a round robin, and our ranking went up. And then Google said, hey, we realize you're kind of cheating the system here. And they depreciated that as a ranking factor. But in the quiet night, they've been bringing it back. So links are starting to rise again. Google My Business right now is a huge ranking factor. If you have a well-deployed Google My Business page, it's a huge ranking factor right now, because that's what they want right now. So Google is the master, they're in charge. We do whatever they say, we're going to get it done. Okay. So they want Google My Business, we're going to go there.
Quick question before you move on to the next one. Irene has asked, Kathleen attempted to correct me and say it's normal in her market to be proud of your brokerage. But Irene has asked, will it notify you if your lead clicks on a link referral? She's using Real Geeks.
It should, I would need to see exactly what you're talking about. It should tell you if they're looking at properties on your site. It should tell you if they're looking at an email that you've sent out. Irene, you and I think we have a tech hour later today. Thank you, by the way, for being flexible on the time. And we will figure that out together. Is that cool?
Okay, while Irene asked that question, then Bitly links, thoughts on those as far as being able to track where they come from?
Bitly links are kind of cool. For those who don't know, Bitly links take a long URL and shorten it down to like this tiny little URL. And there's also another company called tinyurl.com. They both do the same thing. It's harder to, you can figure out, like if you have a Bitly and you put it in your article, you can tell that Bitly came from that article. And if you're a member of Bitly, it'll show you all your tiny URLs and tell you where they were going with it. So you can get some analytics on those. Ironically, tinyurl and Bitly have high domain authority. even though they're not about anything, they're just about whatever you put in, their domain authority is high. So when you have a bit.ly link coming to your site, Google goes, wow, that must mean something. What does it mean? Bit.ly has no content of its own. I don't know, but Google thinks they have high domain authority. Any other questions? Okay, so these are some of the fields that Real Geeks gave me about different things I can plug into that URL and program. So I can say middle school equal Smith Middle School. I can say high school equal this high school. By the way, if you do that, be sure and put at the top, hey, check your school zones. We're just putting in whatever the realtor put in here. So if Sally put it in this high school, trust that, you got to go double check it. Construction status, new construction versus existing. Style of home. Neva loves all the different architectural styles. So I have style of home pages. By the way, the unique properties page gets hit like crazy. There's another one we have that just really gets hit all the time. Number of parking spaces. Some people want a 3-car garage. This is a way in a URL I can say, you want a home in Carrollton with a 3-car garage, garage number equals 3 sort of thing. So this is what you can do with some of the fields that we were given. If your IDX provider won't give you this list of fields, don't go with them, because this is a way to exponentially increase your site. If they say, hey, if you want that page, you have to pay us $75 and we'll design it. Don't do that, because they're just holding you hostage. Okay, any other questions on this? So I can do one site and have 5 counties. Let's say, hypothetical, let's say I pay for one site and I'm paying $250 a month for the site. I put in 5 counties and then I put 10 cities on each county. And then 5 neighborhoods under each city. I just have 250 websites now for the same price. 250 websites for the same price. If I have one site and I have 30 school districts and I have 3 high schools per district and 5 elementaries, that's 450 sites that I can sit there and deploy. And by the way, it doesn't take any major programming technology to do it. It's pointing and clicking and creating the page and then putting the link up. Okay, it's not huge. So this is where you can take that same 250 you're spending, or 300 or whatever you're spending, and make multiple sites out of it. You're putting more petals on the flower. The bee is going to come to the flower. Okay, so forcing sign-in is absolutely essential. We're moving on to number 4 here. Forcing sign-in is absolutely essential. Who has a website right now that does not force sign-in? Anybody? Good. I don't want to see hands on this. You have to force sign-in, because otherwise you have people coming to your site and you don't know, you're just giving away free data. Okay, so let's talk about area pages. Area pages are the more developed page. They're the fancy sign I was talking about. They're going to be about a specific region or area, or sometimes housing type, like Victorian homes or homes with pools or something like that. So area pages are much more defined. They have SEO, which stands for search engine optimization. They're going to have metadata behind them. Metadata meaning like a meta description, and meta keywords behind them, so that Google knows what it's about. And there's a debate in the world whether keywords are still existing. Keywords are so 2010. Ironically, if I change my keywords, Google notices. So when Google goes, we don't look at that anymore, I can prove that's wrong, because they really do care. Okay, so SEO experts will be like, oh, he shouldn't talk about keywords, they don't exist. I can show you that they do. So this is important. If you do an area page, it's like really putting something strong on your website. So you want to do area pages for different suburbs, different neighborhoods. Who does geographic farming? You want an area page for your geographic farm and have it just really well detailed, okay? So Google Analytics should pick up this area page and tell you every time they hit it. Analytics, by the way, is another course, and it's a lot of, it's Vulcan level geek stuff. But you need to know this. Yes, I just did that. It's Vulcan level geek stuff, and that's fine. If you want that level, reach out to me, because I love hanging out with the Vulcans. Okay, so this is my Allen area page, Allen, Texas, and it'll have the properties that are available in Allen. It'll say that, a little bit about the city. By the way, I ripped this off from either the city's website or Wikipedia. You can either rewrite it yourself, or you can go out. There's Leslie found this AI bot called Quillbot, Quillbot, and you can put this paragraph in it and it will rewrite it for you in 2 seconds. So it's not a breach of copyright, and now you have your own paragraph about it. So if you don't know Leslie, he's sneaky that way. And then on the same page, I predefined the search to be Collin County, City of Allen, so that let's say there's nothing here they like, then that search box is already laid out for them and they know where to go. Because unless you're from Dallas-Fort Worth, you don't know what county to put in to get to that city. So don't just give them a blank box where they have to pick and choose, predefine the box. And the area page lets me lay out some text, put in a predefined search, and say, hey, if you haven't found it, here's how to go next. That's what you can do with an area page. Okay. Let's see here. This is the one I have for Frisco. You'll see that the only thing that's changed up top is what's called the slug. Whatever's after your, so I have Texas Pride Realty, and then whatever after that is called the slug. And so the slug being descriptive is important too. URLs are important, so your sub URL is important to Google. If that slug just said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Google might rank me lower because the slug does not say what the page is about. Okay, some people will say, well, that's not really a ranking factor. Everything is a ranking factor. And if it's not, too bad. Go ahead and make it say what it is in natural language, because somehow or another, Google is still reading it. Yes, Bing is still a thing. I don't know why, but we all go for Google. All the other search engines are gone. I shouldn't say that. Somebody here probably loves Bing. Links should be added, and you should be able to add unlimited links to your pages. You should be able to add unlimited links to your pages. Some IDX providers don't allow you to put links on your area pages. By the way, they want to write your area pages for you at a cost, and they don't want you to put link pages on them because they want to keep you from having search engine optimization so they can keep selling you Google and Facebook ads. Okay, so if you reach out to your IDX provider and say, hey, is there a text field on my area page so I can drop some links in? And they say, no, sorry, we don't do that. SEO is dead. You just need to keep, no. Get out of that. Get out of that and go to something better. Okay, so this is a list of link pages that I set up, and there are, I think there's like 280 or 200 some odd suburbs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area because we cover 4 counties. And I actually probably went out, I think I went out a little further and got the other 5 counties outside. And I just dropped in city name equal and changed, you know, this is price point under 400,000. So max price equal 400,000, city name equal, you know, Addison, Allen, Alma, and just change that up and down. And I made a list, I'm sorry, 240 links. So 240 suburbs. I did 3 different price points on this in this series. I did under 400, under 600, and everything over 600. So in 25 minutes, I created 732 pages on my site just by having that HTML and changing the city name and then saving that and then changing the price point, saving that, changing the price point again. It took me 25 minutes. And I can prove it was 25 minutes because I accidentally deleted this page one day and had to recreate it. I was like, oh no, I don't, I was like, oh my God, I deleted that. And I went and recreated it. Because that's what the red button that says delete does. And I just apparently didn't connect in my head what delete meant. So link pages can be on most pages. You can add them anywhere you want to. You can also use mapping searches on this. A link page can also be a map search. So who has a site where you've ever drawn a polygon around an area to get, like, let's say you're doing your geographic farm and you don't have the ability to put, you know, subdivision equal. And in Texas, you don't really want to do just subdivision equal because the county records are screwball. Sometimes the subdivision will be Smithfield, one word. Sometimes it'll be Smith space field. Sometimes the subdivision is Smith hyphen field. So you don't really want to depend on the county clerk who screwed it up. You just want to draw a polygon around that. Okay, this polygon ends up being a URL that has geographical tags in it. I didn't put it on here. So it has your longitude and latitude built into the URL. You can take that, put it in any social media post. And let's say I'm talking about Arbor Creek, which is a subdivision here in Carrollton. Hey, everybody, I went to this great coffee shop around Arbor Creek. Here's a link to all the homes near that coffee shop, and drop that link in and drive people from my social media back to my website, because if they love that coffee shop, they're going to want to live nearby. Make sense? Okay. I think I'm like losing half of you here. So social media posts should all link back to this site. And again, you can link to the specific page. So like if I run an Allen, Texas Facebook page, which I do, I'm going to refer that back to the Allen, Texas page on my IDX site. If I run a Dallas page or a Carrollton page, it will have a link back to that specific city. Okay, keywords are absolutely important. This is where you use keywords everywhere. You can steal your competitors' keywords. If you have a competitor who ranks higher than you, go find out why. And by the way, this is not in this presentation. I just found a tool that will show you what their Google My Business is doing. So you can search their Google My Business and find out why they're ranking higher. Is that worth the price of admission? I think so. So do not pay to be on the front page of Google. If you get a phone call that says, I'll help you get on the front page of Google, hang up the phone. Just like if you get a phone call that says, we'll put your picture on every buggy in the grocery store, hang up the phone, okay? Don't be the buggy lady, don't do that. So it's easy to rank for search terms if you know how to do it. I know how to do it, give me a call. And Stefan and Heidi and everybody else, you know how to get a hold of me. I'll work with y'all, okay? By the way, do not use deceptive keywords. Amy, what brokerage do you work for? If Amy works for Banana Realty, Amy can't put in her search terms Remax. Amy can't put in her search terms Zillow. By the way, I'll tell you, Realtor.com puts Zillow in their keywords all the time, but they're not a realtor. They're just Realtor.com. So they don't have to abide by the code of ethics. We do. So Janet, you cannot go out there and put in there that you're Century 21, ERA, all these other search terms in there to get people over to you. Coach Stephanie?
I do have a question, Coach Bob. So let's just say that I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I know Coach Bob has amazing Google presence. Hypothetically, could I put Coach Bob's name as my keyword for my site?
No, because Bob will find your ass and Bob will file against you.
Coach Bob would, but theoretically, could I?
Like, no, theoretically. Okay, so back in the day, before this was part of the code of ethics, I had keywords in my site. And I misspell things, and I had a misspelled keyword. I found my competitor had exactly my keywords with the same misspellings.
I wrote him. And spell it. Yeah.
I wrote him and I said, I hope those keywords are helping you. By the way, you misspelled this because I did. And he just wrote back, ha ha, thanks so much. And then when he went out of business, I bought his URL. I own his URL now.
Okay, so real quick, Coach Bob, that is a great point. For those of you that have agents in your area that have a great URL presence for something, not necessarily their name, but that promotes your community, I personally sit and watch, and mine get set up on notification. And so whenever the agents in my area forget that their credit card expired and their URLs do expire, I purchase every single one of those. Do I sell them back for a much higher dollar if I like them? Yes. If I don't like them, I keep them.
And to your point, Steph, you should take all those and have them redirect back to your page, because they may have a high domain authority and you want all their domain authority to be absorbed into you. Okay, there's actually a site out there where you can go buy old URLs that have high domain authority and just write the webmasters and say, hey, this is the new page. It even has a history of what that website looked like before, so you can make a page or two that looks like them and the domain authority absorbs into you. That's like a 401 Vulcan level thing, so we're not going to go into that, but it's there. Let's talk about long-term keywords here. Short tail keywords are like Realtor Dallas. 2 words, very short, Realtor Dallas, and it'll bring up a list of every realtor in the city. Okay, but if you want Realtor Dallas who serves Capel, that becomes a longer tail. Okay, this graph shows you that the top, the short URLs are highly searched, but the long tails are the most searched. Okay, most people put in the longer tail. Most people are looking at the short. I want to be the best Dallas realtor. That's great. That's going to have a whole lot of competition. But if you put in homes in Carrollton with a pool as your long tails keyword, there's much less competition for it, and it's going to be searched more. Does that make sense? You have a better shot at this long tail keyword than you do the short ones.
Okay, so is that where Tom talks about as far as like finding your avatar client is, instead of throwing out that wider net, casting the wider net, that you have gone down to, these are the communities that you service, that you enjoy working, that type of thing, so that they find you that way? Okay.
Yeah. So if you have Starkville homes, if somebody said Starkville realtor, obviously Stephanie's going to show up anyway. But if you want a Starkville home that had, a certain style, colonial style or something like that, or, with a porch, then this would be the longer tail keyword search. Okay, and that's where all the money is made in the long tail. When people call you up and say, I'll put you on the front page of Google, they're going to ask them what long tail keyword they're using. because you will be on the front page of homes in Carrollton that are painted pink. Well, there aren't that many homes in Carrollton painted pink, but you're the number one for that. And that's what they're selling you. There's so many variations of long tails. They can have you be number one on the page, take your $300 a month, and it's not a good search term. So just think about that before you sign up for that. Better yet, call your coach and have your coach tell you don't sign up for that. Most importantly, do not build your site on land you don't own. Don't use the brokerage website. Now, if you're brand new in the business and you've got no other option right now, use it. But within your first 6 to 8 months, let's get you out of that. In your first closing or two, let's get you out of that and into your own site. By the way, the least expensive site I know is a company called Pro Agent Websites. Write that down, proagentwebsites.com. They're $80 a month for it's a minimally competent site. Now, it doesn't have every bell and whistle, but it'll get you through, okay? $80 a month, and it has a CRM on it. The problem with Pro Agent Websites is they don't cover every MLS in the world because they're a small little company, but it's good enough to start. If they cover your MLS, it's good enough to start. Otherwise, your price point of entry is going to be around 200 to 300. There's a couple of companies at 200 that don't have the feature set you want. So go ahead and just save up till you can get to the larger one. And I can go over companies in a bit. Speaking of which, here's all the different companies that I found, or just some of the different companies I know of that do websites, okay? Some of these are better, some of these are worse, and I'm not going to talk about it on a recorded line because I don't want those people coming and finding me at the grocery store and knocking me in the kneecap. But there are some companies that are really good and some companies I just don't talk about. Okay, so these are different companies. There's a ton of them out there. And at some point, I'm going to make a graph of price point on one scale and usability on another scale. Because I can tell you the higher the price point, the usability is also low. Okay. Some of the highest price point ones are the ones that are really going to mess you up and not allow you to do SEO. Some of the lower price point ones are some of the most easy to program. So before I go further, don't get caught up in my site needs to look really pretty. I want all the moving pictures and I want everything to slide in and all the fancy graphics. That's if a human looks at your site. Google is who you're coding for. Repeat after me. Google is who you're coding for because people go to Google and type in, how do I get an agent in Chicago? Google doesn't care if you have this gorgeous slideshow of Chicago and this overview drone shot of all the buildings on the river in Chicago. Google does not care. Google wants to see what you have about Chicago, okay? So don't get trapped in that, oh, it has to look amazing. Yeah, it needs to look decent. It can't look like rubbish. The other thing that's more important than that is response time. I tested the site yesterday. They had all these gorgeous slide videos and stuff like that, but the site didn't come up in 7 seconds. Okay, we have internet attention span anymore, right? Do we have TikTok especially has taught us to have internet attention span. If a site does not load in 7 to 10 seconds, we're not staying. We're bouncing and going somewhere else. But my God, Bob, it looks pretty. So last couple things here, audit your site. If you don't know how to audit your site, talk to me. I can go through a site in a relatively short amount of time and help you. Here are the things we want to look for. And most of these I've gone over with you. Is the site provider personal or a brokerage? If it's a brokerage, it's a hard stop. Okay. Is the URL descriptive or a proper name? Is it, Best Dallas Realtor or is it bobmccraney.com? If it's personal, if it's personal site, if it's descriptive, we can change it and fix it. I'm saying this backwards. If it's descriptive, it's fine. If it's personal, we can fix it. That's just a yield. Sorry, I'm getting, my tongue is not saying what my brain wants. Is it a dynamic URL or does it just return results.asp? It needs to be a dynamic programmable URL. If it's a yes, keep going. If it's a no, hard stop. Get out of that technology. Does it force sign in? And some sites can, and they just don't turn it on. So just ask your provider. If they say, no, we don't do force sign in, that's a hard stop. Get out. You will never get leads off that site. People will just stay on your site and go buy through somebody else. Does it let your personal listings come up to the top? In some sites, it'll be personal listings. Some sites, it'll just be all the listings with your brokerage. That's fine. You're an agent of the brokerage. Advertise those. If it does not show your personal or brokerage listings early, then that's something you want to get out of. Do you have buyer and seller pages that are specific to you? Okay. Buyer and sellers. And by the way, when you get your site, go rewrite the buyer and seller pages. Make it about you. I think Heidi has a video on some of these, and so you should have videos on your buyer and seller page explaining the buying and selling process so people get a feeling for you. If I know Heather, I'm going to see Heather on the video. I'm going to know and trust Heather by the time I call her because I've seen her videos over and over. So if you can put that on there, change it. If you don't have that, fix it. Does it have a home valuation tool? If it does not have a home valuation tool possible, it's a hard stop. Here's a change on that. If you can link to HomeBot or something like that, you might be able to put in a third-party home valuation. So think about that. Does it have market reports? Like on our sites, you can say, hey, I want to see what the market is like in Tampa. And the market report will come up and show just recent solds and pendings and things like that. Does it have area pages? Yes or no? If it does not allow area pages, or they want $100 or $200 or $300 a month to have an area page, get out. If it can't do link pages, that's a problem. I think I need to change that to hard stop, not yield. Do you have your own biography on there? How many pages, how many people deploy a site and don't change their biography? That's just silly, okay? Change your biography. Does it have social media links? Yes or no? You can change that. Does it have your testimonials? How many of us are getting reviews right now? Every hand needs to be up in the air. We need to be getting more and more reviews. Put those reviews on your website. Blogging is important. If you don't blog on your site, then link to the blog you're using. And be sure your blog posts all link back to this site. You kind of create reciprocal links that way. Keywords, absolutely important. If the site does not allow you to change the keywords, or they tell you that SEO isn't important anymore, just keep buying ads, get out. Okay. And does it have the ability to show up on Google search? Most everything does. If it doesn't, get out. Okay. So final couple slides here. This is the sales funnel. I take all my coaching clients over this. This is the sales funnel. The top of the funnel is awareness. We're just kind of waving our arms. Look at us. Oh my God, please be aware that I'm in business. Level 2, now that I've got your attention, I need to say something interesting so that you pay attention to me and you not only see me, you hear me and understand what I'm telling you about real estate. 3, they make a decision. Bob's kind of funny. He said something kind of interesting. Maybe I'll decide to work with him. Okay. Level 4, they actually become a client. I've had to do all this work to get them to become a client. I don't get paid till fulfillment. I don't get paid till blue. Closing and funding. I'm doing all this crazy to get you to look at me, to listen to me, to decide to work with me, and then finally we can sell you something. And then retention. I put them back into a system that hopefully brings their friends and family up to the interest level and bring them back through, right? This is what we're working. This is my model. This is my business. This is how I lay my business out. I've got WordPress blog sites. I need to put Active Rain back up on here. They feed to different systems, different social media sites. Everything ends up back at my CRM. Everything ends up back at Real Geeks. And then from Real Geeks, I'm using BombBomb, HomeBot, Mighty Text, and Close CRM to try to rain back down on them and bring them back through. Now, you do not need to be this level of crazy, but I do highly suggest you map your lead systems once a year. Lay it out. Where are my leads coming from? How are they getting in? How am I messaging them? How do I get them into my website? And how do I rain on them afterwards? And it's good because you'll find that, oh, this system is disconnected. I forgot to update my credit card or whatever. You will find things that are not working anymore. These things on the side, these are just Canva and Logo Tournament and iStock. This is where I get some of my pictures that I want. This is this month in Realty. If you're one of my coaching clients, we record videos, excuse me, every month about your markets. And by the way, those videos refer back to my client's site and refer back to my site. So I'm getting link backs for both of us on that. And I have that then up on Anchor FM that makes it a podcast for people driving in the car. And it goes to YouTube. So I'm using different things at different places to drive business. And everything has to come back to my IDX website and my CRM. Thank you for attending my TED Talk. Any questions?
Okay, you're absolutely amazing. Everyone, I'm going to copy paste some notes that I took for you in here in the chat. It's actually a lot of them now that I look at it. So I'm going to copy paste those in there. Kathleen, you've got a question. Go for it.
Okay, so new agent, about 1.5 years, small community, smaller than Stephanie's. What is the 1 or 2 things that you would recommend? I just started building a site, limited budget type of a thing. 1 or 2 things you'd recommend that I can do rather than being overwhelmed by all of this.
Blog about your city. What city are you in?
It's called Haver.
Havre, what state?
Montana.
Havre, Montana. Okay, so I would go to every restaurant and every shop there. I'd take pictures, I'd interview the owners, and I would put that up on YouTube and put it out on Anchor FM, which is a podcast site. And every time I did a YouTube or an Anchor, I would refer back to my site that is selling houses. I would go on your site and I would break out every type of home there, whether, I assume it's a rural community?
Yes.
So farm and ranch, I would do like homes built before 1900, homes built before 1950, homes built, current homes. I would break out those that have basements or storm cellars, because we're in tornado world here. Montana gets them every once in a while. I would build something about what it's like to winter in Montana, which I can only imagine is just dead cold. I would do things about living in. I know you're going to sell me 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. Tell me how I'm going to live. Show me the lifestyle of living there, the open skies, the vast plains. Show me the lifestyle. And dominate every keyword you can come up with. Go through keywords everywhere. And there's also a site where you ask questions on the internet, and it'll show you every variation of that question that ranks. Go do a video about every one of those questions. By the way, that costs you almost nothing. It costs you cell phone time and some time putting up posts.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
It's called a digital mayor strategy, by the way. Anybody else?
Yes, Heidi, I was actually listening. And all of coaching clients on the brick side, I'm going to email those out in one email as well, if you don't get all of those copied and pasted. Coach Bob, I did want to bring up something. I know you called it a level of craziness, but for everyone out there, like Coach Bob has studied this for years. He did all of his research. He did his testing. He did his analyzation. He adjusted, he pivoted. And so what he just showed you as far as the slide of all of his different sites, he did not do all of that in day one. And
yes.
So take his slide that he showed you and choose one at a time and implement those into your site versus thinking you'll never have it perfectly like he does. He did it intensely and over years.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, I'll throw this in too. Lucas goes, wow, this is way above my pay grade. He goes, how are you supposed to know all of this as an agent? Is this how you learned all of this through Tom Ferry coaching? And the answer is yes, because nobody's going to teach you this in your brokerage. They're not there to help you the way the Tom Ferry network is. And
reach out to me. I give away free tech hours. I will help you with stuff.
Well, that's what I mean. Sincerely appreciate just today's time and knowledge. I mean, this is gold. Like, this is amazing. So thank you very, very much. And by the way, I'm living proof. I have had Coach Bob go through my website, like he has said. I almost started crying. I'm like, wow, oh gosh, damn. Okay. So he definitely knows what he's doing. He is a huge resource. I would absolutely be keeping him in my back pocket for sure.
Okay, guys, I got to jump. I got another call I got to get on to.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.